Okay, having done the bamboo tray this morning, I wanted to start my little travel today by crossing this pedestrian bridge and then go over and see that temple, then come back to another temple that's behind me a few blocks. So this is actually a pedestrian and motorcycle bridge. Probably it's an abandoned old bridge, of course, that has now been replaced by several newer bridges. Okay, so now we're looking upriver that I came up yesterday. Something I saw a few minutes ago when we were taking the tuk-tuk back to the bridge here was a huge pile of trash on the side of the road where they had thrown it over time, but a big dump truck and several men working with big rakes to load it all up. So I'm guessing that actually, although it's long-term and appears invisible, once you see the truck you realize there is some kind of a long-term program for trying to at least attempt to tackle the major trash problem. So if you need coconuts, here's how you get them. You send some guy up into the tree with a rope, and then he has a whole bunch of coconuts. I don't know whether he's toughening up his feet, hitting it with a hammer or a hatchet or what. And here with the blasé indifference of a pro. Checks out what he has to do. Jesus, look at that. Jeez. Now he'll have to negotiate through those branches to get up to the coconuts and then pass that rope down. Now he's up on top of the crown so he can assemble a pile of coconuts and start tossing them down, or actually lower them down. That's apparently how they're attached, whatever that tells us. Something that he cut with the hatchets on that pack. And the next pile. Oh, there you can see the end of the stalk right there. And here he comes back down. I gave him a little bit of applause and he ignored that, and I said a coon, which means thank you, and he ignored that. And I think it's just that he's a professional and this is what he does. This is what the bridge looks like from the side. I think it may be French. It has, first of all, it may be old enough to be French. It has a certain amount of design beauty to it, and yet using pretty simple rustic cement capabilities. Okay, here I'm at the entrance of one temple complex, and you can probably notice the similarity between what I'm showing you now and what we saw at some of the temples in the Angkor Wat area. However, this is totally complete, although it's no longer carrying its red paint. Back to looking at old Chedais, that one in particular, and its companion across the way. These are all Khmer, where a lot of what we saw was influenced because of Khmer domination at one time. Presumably these all hold flags or standards of some. My body's all aching and racked with pain from being on that bamboo train. Don't know what these flagpoles signify. Probably one of them is the flag of Cambodia. They're a pretty little traffic turnaround. It's not open today, so I can't get in, although that's not really a doorway. But the gate's locked up on the front part too, if I understand. Notice the pretty graphic above with the blue in the background, signifying probably the blue of sky, if not the universe, as they saw it. Here, even to an Occidental background, this is very Indian art, and that stems from that 1st century AD when this whole region was Indianized by guess whom? Here's the carcass of a large beetle and the billions of little ants that you can hardly see unless you know they're there. That shut-eye doesn't look too terribly old. The one on the right, very Khmer, prang look, tower look to it. This one reminiscent of Angkor Wat and the symbolism of Mount Meru and the lesser peaks. All of this probably hand carved out of cement stucco at some point. Recently, that's very recent. There, a little Buddha at the top. And this very lovely old tower. Now notice here the motif of intertwined tails of the Nagas. And here an interesting device in that the Nagas at the corner are the beginnings of 2 snakes. In other words, these are 2-bodied Nagas. You can see at the back that they're in the process of completing the wall with reproductions. Here the detail of the figures holding up the banister is interesting. Looks like something from, looks like the little munchkins from the Wizard of Oz. The little minions of the evil queen. These are all reproductions, as you can see, but beautifully done, so we have a real sense of what they looked like initially, perhaps. Nicely painted, and these also with that intertwined motif. So here we got somebody who's doing some recycling. This is a recycling center, all kinds of metal, as you can see back in there, and plastic over here. So even in this incredible economy that takes place. This may be a shrine brought down by the floods. This is the provincial building. We may not be able to look at this closely for security reasons. But I think these light posts here probably indicate the early French provincial or colonial look. You can see from the 2 rows of trees and this walkway here on the left that this probably at one time played an important role in the beauty of the city, but now is in disrepair in deference to areas closer to the tourist center. And yet these light posts still reflect some Khmer influence, like the top. I think this is an example of French Provincial with a Khmer touch at the top.